Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamerspro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. So yesterday we produced an MJ Jordan related show. A lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of interesting things to say. Jordan was essentially talking about the soft nature of the NBA and certain stars like LeBron and Dirk Nowitzki at the time who were begging for the NBA to reduce the amount of games. And Jordan was essentially saying, no, I don't see the need for that. When I played, 82 games was not an issue for me. I loved playing the game, right? And if I wasn't playing an NBA game, I would be somewhere else playing because I love the game. And a lot of people chimed into that conversation and all of that. But for the past, let me say 6-7 years, there's been this kind of manufactured GOAT debate that, the person is trying to get Michael Jordan is the GOAT. The person trying to get is LeBron James. LeBron James, he's the next GOAT. The GOAT debate. The GOAT. Just yesterday, I was listening to a clip on Gil's Arena. Okay. And essentially, they were arguing between LeBron James, LeBron James and Kobe Bryant, whose record, who's better than each other, right? And they were essentially saying that, oh, LeBron is better than Kobe. That's what Gilbert Arenas was saying. Although Gilbert Arenas says that he's a Kobe guy, he was making every single argument in the book as to why LeBron is better than Kobe Bryant. And one of the arguments Gilbert Arenas kept on pointing to was, well, LeBron has a 16-6 record against Kobe. He has a 16-6 record against Kobe. 16-6 record, so he's better than Kobe. He's better than Kobe. And I'm like, I was going to message Gilbert that I didn't. So you're saying that LeBron is better than Kobe because he has a 16-6 record against him. Okay, cool. Kawhi Leonard has a 12-8 record against LeBron, so he's better than LeBron, right? Kawhi Leonard has a winning record against LeBron. So therefore, Kawhi Leonard is a better basketball player than LeBron James because he beat him more when they face each other. Is that how we're doing it? But then that wouldn't make any sense because LeBron never faced MJ and we all agree that Jordan's better than LeBron. So let's stop the nonsense. Gil is a pseudo LeBron. He a fake Kobe fan. I don't believe it. For a Kobe fan, you always defend LeBron. I don't get it. But anyway, Gil is one of the new LeBron supporters, but there have been others out there, and some of them have made a career out of basically slandering Jordan to basically elevate LeBron James. And one of those people was Nick Wright, who was recently speaking at the House of Straws. He was talking about the state of affairs with the NBA, but as he started to talk, he said something. And he was like, a lot of people discovered me because of my LeBron James takes that I used to make on Colin Cowherd. And I'm like, those LeBron takes you were making were was when you were comparing LeBron to Jordan and you were taking shots at Jordan. So basically, people started checking for you because of the crazy stuff you were saying about Michael Jordan. So for those of you who didn't hear what Nick Wright had to say, want to play what he had to say for you now, and then want to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to Nick Wright basically admitting that his crazy LeBron Jordan takes was really what started to gain him attention. Take a listen to that.
I'm thinking about this. There are a variety of ways to go. You came out and you said the NBA, trouble, man, trouble ahead. You got to do something. Now, yeah, it's interesting because they've signed this huge deal. They've gotten the bag. They've gotten the $76 billion, unless, I don't know, some regulatory agency says that they've got an issue with Warner Brothers. I don't think that will happen. So they have the money. Adam Silver has done what he should do. You're sounding the alarm, though, that this is a little tenuous. I think it's really interesting that you were sounding that alarm, Nick, because you're somebody who talks about sports and has finger on the pulse of what people are into. Are you detecting a bit of a slide of the NBA from the national conversation? Is that rooted a bit in what you're saying?
So a few things led to it. One of them was my own lack of excitement. I was like, oh, that's a problem. It's like NBA season was opening night. And I was like, like I cared, but I wasn't. In the NBA, for almost my whole life, the NBA was my clear number one. I think a lot of people, still associate me more with the NBA than the NFL because they got to know me because of my LeBron takes on Cowherd.
So you heard Nick right there. Now here's the interesting thing. There's a clip that went viral about 4 years ago, where Nick Wright was on Undisputed with Chris Carter, Skip Bayless, and Shannon Sharp. And it was this clip, I believe, that really propelled Nick Wright into the national sphere, when he basically came out there and said that LeBron had already eclipsed Michael Jordan. So what we want to do is we want to play this clip, this infamous clip of Nick Wright, and then want to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to that there.
Nick, what would it take for LeBron to pass Jordan as the GOAT?
Get him, Nick.
All right, so if we're talking about accomplishments, he needs at least a couple more rings, probably one more MVP. But if we're talking about accomplishments, Jordan's not the GOAT, it's Kareem. And if it's not Kareem, it's probably Russell. So we're not really talking about accomplishments. We're talking about who's the best. Who's the best? One game to decide your life. Who do you want in all-time history? So for LeBron to pass Jordan, he needs a time machine to go back about 11 months when he passed him the first time. LeBron's been the best player ever since about midway point of Game 6 of last year's finals, and all he's done since then is continue that. He's on the greatest streak in postseason history since Dre called him the B word and Clay said his feelings were hurt. He's played 16 games. His team's 15-1, giving you 34, 9, 8, and 55% shooting. And when we're just comparing the two players, LeBron averages more rebounds, assists, blocks, steals than Jordan, shoots a better percentage from 2, shoots a better percentage from 3, is the more versatile defender, can guard all 5 positions. He can do everything Jordan could do, but better. So what does he need to do to pass Michael Jordan? He already done past Michael Jordan as far as who's the best player ever.
So you heard it. You heard it for yourself. That's Nick Wright there basically saying that. That was one of the most outlandish moments in sports in the last, 6-7 years. But it was a moment that got people's attention. See, one of the biggest grifts out there is to say Michael Jordan is not that good. It's a grift. People grift in sports media. And one of the biggest grifts you can do is to say that you're anti-Jordan. Why? Because the consensus opinion is Jordan is the GOAT. The majority, the vast majority, 80% of NBA fans feel that way. Then you have the other 20%, they may feel as Kobe, they may feel as Magic Johnson, they may feel as LeBron James, they may feel as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Wilt Chamberlain or whoever else. But the vast majority of NBA fans feel that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. So whenever you come out here and start saying these crazy things, people's ears start to prick up. And they're like, what did he just say? What did he just say? And then you start creating what they call rage bait. If I said Jordan is a superior player to LeBron James, there is no controversy there. There is no controversy. But if you say LeBron is a superior player to Jordan, that creates a lot of controversy. And a lot of people have found a way to make money doing that. And the irony in all of this is that LeBron fans run around twerking it up all day long, slapping each other with honey, bursting through doors, throwing honey all over the floor. And they say that, oh, LeBron is eating off of y'all eating off of LeBron, when in reality, they're eating off of Jordan. If there is no Jordan, they have nobody to compare LeBron to. Every time you listen to Rich Paul, he's always talking about Michael Jordan. Always. Every time you listen to Rich Paul, he's always talking about Jordan. All of these guys that think LeBron is better than Jordan, they're always talking about. When was the last time you heard Michael Jordan or any of these guys talk about LeBron? They never do. They never do. They never do. Jordan spends zero time convincing people that he's the GOAT. Zero, because we all know. We all know what it is. We all know what it is. We all know what it is. So one of the biggest grifts is to say that Jordan is just not good. And it's a great way to build an audience. Say he's not good. And then you got LeBron fans hollering and screaming, you wouldn't LeBron, you ain't make no. Without Jordan, we wouldn't be talking about LeBron. And by the way, Jordan still outsells LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant by his damn self when it comes to the shoe market. You know, the guy that you bozos believe is better than Jordan, he outsells them. He's winning everywhere, off the court, on the court, Jordan to go. And that almost cursed. And that must hurt your souls. So you heard Nick Wright himself say it. People know me for my LeBron takes. And his LeBron takes always had something to do with LeBron being better than Jordan. we're in a very serious moment right now. And some people are acting like as if it's not a real thing, but it's a real thing. The NBA is having some serious challenges with its viewership and its product. It's some serious challenges. And I was thinking about this a few hours ago, and I was saying to myself that the modern day man could possibly destroy the NBA. Let me just expand on that thought. The modern day young man is in the process of ruining the NBA, which really says a lot about the modern man today. It really does. You look at generations in the past, how they were able to move society forward. In the case of the NBA, move the NBA forward, really push the league forward. But what we're witnessing in the NBA today is a total regression. Total regression. Players don't care. It's all about the money. Fans are an afterthought. And the league is actually diminishing under our... If you look at the generations before, you look at the Dr. J's, you look at the Larry Birds and the Magic Johnsons who propelled the league forward. You look at the Michael Jordans who took the league into a totally different stratosphere. Then you had the Kobe's, the Vince Carters, the LeBrons, the Dwayne Wades. These guys kept the NBA at a certain level based off of the work that their predecessors did. But now we've reached a new era where we're witnessing a decline. And all of these younger guys cannot carry the league. Now, some of y'all are like, well, it's because of the NBA and how it's marketing the product. That's true. That's true. But it also speaks to the fabric of the players. Something in them just is not resonating with fans. And a lot of them don't feel this righteous indignation within themselves to feel like it's their responsibility to push the league forward. They don't feel that way. They don't. It's just kind of this laissez-faire attitude. And it's the reason why you see viewership plummeting. So what happened? Yesterday, I came across a very, very interesting video of Nick Wright on the House of Straws. And he was talking about a bunch of things, but he was talking about the decline in viewership and the lack of interest in the NBA. And as I was listening to Nick Wright, he went out there and said he said some things that I think NBA Commissioner Adam Silver needs to take very, very seriously. So what we want to do is we want to play what Nick Wright's serious warning that he sent to the NBA and the commissioner, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to Nick Wright here.
I'm thinking about this. There are a variety of ways to go. You came out and you said the NBA, trouble, man, trouble ahead. You got to do something. Now, It's interesting because they've signed this huge deal. They've gotten the bag. They've gotten the $76 billion, unless, I don't know, some regulatory agency says that they've got an issue with Warner Brothers. I don't think that will happen. So they have the money. Adam Silver has done what he should do. You're sounding the alarm, though, that this is a little tenuous. I think it's really interesting that you were sounding that alarm, Nick, because you're somebody who talks about sports and has finger on the pulse of what people are into. Are you detecting a bit of a slide of the NBA from the national conversation? Is that rooted a bit in what you're saying?
So a few things led to it. One of them was my own lack of excitement. I was like, oh, that's a problem. It's like NBA season was opening night. And I was like, like I cared, but I wasn't in the NBA. For almost my whole life, the NBA was my clear number one. I think a lot of people, still associate me more with the NBA than the NFL because they got to know me because of my LeBron takes on Cowherd. And so that was a concern, but the other two things are just obvious to me. And it was so annoying because these self-important Celtic fans and media and bloggers are like, oh, the Celtics are so good. Nick Wright wants to change rules. Boston folks, I honest to God, do not give a shit about if you guys win the next 3 titles. I had a position years ago that the Celtics I thought were a bit of a, Danny Ainge was running a bit of a hope-based Ponzi scheme and was always, and so I made the point that they had not had the success that I thought people thought they would have, and they won the title. And so, years later, so bully for them. It's nothing to do with Boston. It's a very obvious point that I made sitting on stage at a Sloan Analytics conference to Daryl Morey 6 years ago, which was, I saw this train coming down the tracks. I was like, hey, obviously, threes are worth more than two. And you are figuring out, and it's just going to snowball, that there's probably no upper bound to how many threes you should shoot. That is the right way to win. Your job, the coach's job, is to win. However, the reason you want to be the coach or the GM is because those jobs pay millions of dollars. And those jobs pay millions of dollars, while the coach and the GM of an ultimate Frisbee team pay nothing, because the NBA is a good television product. And I'm here to tell you 100 threes a game is a bad television product. What do you do? And Daryl said, honestly, not my job to worry about that. My job's to win. It's the league's job. If they need to change the rules, change the rules. And I'm here to tell you, better fucking change the rules. Because it is no different than if midway through last season, the Eagles, instead of going into a spiral, had got the tush push to where instead of it being an automatic 1.5 yards, it was an automatic 4 yards. And so they ran it every play of the game.
It's not football anymore.
It would be up to the league to snap change the rules. And if they didn't, it's like, well, whatever. And then at the beginning of this year, half the league's offense was the tush push. You got to snap change rules. And when you have incentivized an athlete as dynamic and explosive as Anthony Edwards, start shooting dozen threes a game, you're going to turn off your audience. Because at its core, what makes the NBA, every sport has its own thing that makes it special. And the NBA, the best athletes in the world. That's if the league has a tagline, best athletes in the world. And that means dunking on people. That means that a style, and where everyone doesn't play the exact same style. It's just bad for TV. And so that's one major concern that I said, if Adam Silver needs to be a wartime consigliere and take a page out of baseball's book. I don't care how intermittently unpopular this is. We are drastically changing the rules, because just like in baseball, the smart thing was the shift and this and that and all that. And he's like, well, okay, great. The fans don't like it. It's bad for the TV product. We are the entertainment industry, so we're going to change the rules. So that's what I think it's obvious.
So you heard what Nick had to say. Now, he didn't just talk about the issues with the NBA. He also gave some possible solutions and proposals of how to fix the game. So towards the tail end of the interview, he brought up some particular rule changes that he thinks could solve the problem. And I think that one of these ideas that Nick proposed, I thought was absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. So what we want to do is I want to play this proposal in terms of a rule change that Nick Wright proposed, and then want to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what Nick Wright had to say here.
There are a few drastic changes they could make. So the one everybody says is eliminate the corner three, have the arc be a true arc. Yeah. I don't think that's a far enough measure. There's the one I said on the pod, which I sure as hell would like to see him try. I don't know. It's the simplest thing, because the obvious one is change the scoring from 3s and 2s to 4s and 3s. That instantly fixes it. But A, people hate math, and B, it ruins the record books. So it's not going to happen. Making dunks worth 3 as well is a interesting way to try to split it. And the other one is, listen, do whatever you want, but just so you know, every team is capped at 15 shots a game that count for 3 points. So once you know what I mean, do it as fast, however you want to do it. But just so you know, you are maxed out so it's not like the points won't count anymore, but there'll be twos. Like you're capped.
So you heard what Nick Wright had to say. He proposed a cap on the 3-point shot. And I think that's brilliant. Now, he said he picked the number 15 out of the thin air. But there's an interesting, that 15 is a very, very interesting number. Let me give you guys some data here. Through the decades, let me tell you what teams were attempting from 3-point shooting over the decades. In the 80s, teams were attempting 3.5 threes a game. In the 90s, teams were attempting 11.4. In the 2000s, teams were attempting 15.7. In the 2010s, 23.1. And then now, in the modern era, in the 2020s, 35 a game. Let's go back and look at the eras where teams were attempting about 11 to 15 threes a game. The 90s was the golden era. In the 2000s, the NBA was still very popular, and they were attempting about 15.7. I think we need to pay close attention to that number, because that tells me that number is the right balance. Teams should be attempting around 15 threes a game. The 98 Bulls were attempting 14.1. To put that into context, Anthony Edwards is attempting about 11 by himself. That's disgraceful. That's disgraceful. We've done shows about this where I said it is not fun to watch a game where teams are shooting around 70 threes a game. That is not enjoyable basketball. And what happened is you got a lot of nerds that came into the NBA that are not business people. This is the problem. You got a lot of smart people that don't own any businesses. So they came into the NBA and they're like, well, you know what? We need to really look at the mathematics and go through the calculus of all of this, and let's see, okay, what's the best way for us to win NBA games? We'll take a lot of trades. We got trades, and my trades worth more than twos, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, I understand that, but there's something you need to bear in mind. You have a spectator sport. They don't watch NBA in a classroom. It's a recreational sport. People watch for enjoyment, for leisure, to get away from their problems, not to sit there and be bored. So they took out the entertainment aspect, talking about we got to win games because people think that people go to NBA games to solve some math equation. We don't go watch NBA games because we want to go to school or watch a course. We're watching it for entertainment. We don't want to think, we want to be entertained. And if you remove the entertainment factor out of it, it's no longer fun. The NBA is a product you're selling, and they're making the product unwatchable. And they think they're doing something positive because we're intellectualizing the game. It's smarter. We're smarter. It's like, that's not the point. That's not the point. The goal is to entertain people. And the product isn't entertaining the way it's being played. So I like his 15 3-point shot cap on a game. I like that. I think 20 is okay. 20. That's 5 threes a quarter. If you want, you can take all 20 in the fourth quarter. If you want, you can take all 20 in the first quarter. If you want, you can take 5 a quarter. It's up to you. But I like that. So we get the 3 out of the game. And this is something that Kevin Garnett pointed out. He said, when we were playing in the NBA, we had 3-point specialists. So when we ran a play for that guy, we knew we wanted a 3. It wasn't just, okay, we're going to shoot threes every time down the court. That's just madness. It is madness. So mathematically, it makes sense. But the problem is you're not selling math books. You're selling a product that's meant to entertain people. And Adam Silver seems to be totally tone deaf to all of this. I don't know how. We even put up a poll on our channel 2 days ago. And I asked the following question to the audience that was centered on this very thing, which was, look, does the NBA need to make some rule changes? 18 hours ago, excuse me. Out of the 6,500 voters, 88% of them said yes. 88% of these voters said yes. And the poll generated over 300 comments. 300 comments. So there is a problem. There is a problem. At first, it was the fans complaining about it. But now when you have big voices in media actually coming out there and saying something, you need to pay close attention to it. It's unwatchable. Unwatchable. I just think I should say this as a parting shot on the way out. This is the cupcake era. The era that most likely will probably ruin the NBA. The cupcake era. The greatest era ever is the one that may be responsible for the decline of the entire sport. What a clown show era this is. What a clown show era. I had one jigaboo on Instagram message me because we did a video about players getting salty. He's like, what are you talking about? Steve Kerr can never land in this NBA. I'm like, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? I said, players today are not as more athletic, more physically gifted and all of that stuff. And he brought out Steve Kerr. As if to say what? They don't have spot up 3-point shooters in the like. What are we talking about? So even when you listen to these guys' reasoning, you're better off having a conversation with a box of crayons. You'll be able to gain. You might as well have a conversation with a wall. You probably hear something more sensible come out of the wall than listen to one of these guys talk. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. These are my thoughts. And one last thing I gotta say: this is totally off base. Totally off base. Shout out to my New Yorkers in the building. Shout out to Ari Spears. He's a hardcore New Yorker. Son, your list was trash on Vlad. I just got to throw this out. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Your top 20 rappers list that are better than Kendrick Lamar is trash, B. Cannabis is better than you smoking something hot. He's more lyrical. And you need to stop with that. These guys are everywhere. They're on the loose. We can't stop them. There's nothing we can do with them. They're all over the place. They're belligerent. They're out of control. They're basically attacking people with jars of honey all over the street. It's crazy. Absolute madness. So what happened? We were looking for something to shoot today. Content. And I was like, man, I'm running out of ideas here. Then Mitch hit me with the Jason Kidd assist. He just hit me with like the shot in my pocket to just go up and hit that three. He's like, yo, son, I got this topic for you. So I'm like, what's this topic? I saw the video, the clip of it, and I was like, folks, we got a problem. So once again, we got another former LeBron James teammate coming out there and saying that LeBron James is the one that ruined the NBA. That as a matter of fact, it's not Stephen Curry. It was LeBron that ruined the NBA when he came up with the team hopping and just basically jumping all over the place and created this player empowerment. As you guys know, when LeBron was in the East getting his ass whooped in the Eastern Conference every year, he couldn't get out of the East, although he had some good teams that were winning 60-plus games. Nike was doing commercials about him going to face Kobe and all of that. He was getting body slammed by the teams that Kobe was beating in the finals. He was getting mollywopped by those teams, right? So what happened? LeBron then decided, you know what? I'm going to pull off a boss move, and I'm going to go to Miami and form a team that ended up being one of the most hated teams actually that season. And probably one of the most hated teams of all in NBA history, that Miami Heat team. And he went out there because he knew what he did. And he was like, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. The entire NBA community was fed up with LeBron when he did that. You had Jordan and Larry Bird and all of these guys coming out there saying like, yo, son is soft. Son is soft. Jordan was like, when I was playing, I was trying to beat these dudes. I wasn't trying to join these dudes. So what happened? There's a clip out there of Iman Shumpert basically saying that it wasn't Stephen Curry that ruined the NBA. So what we want to do now is want to play what he said. I think it was on Shaq's podcast, if I'm not mistaken. And then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to Iman here.
I got crucified for this question already. Has Steph ruined the game? Because I also was asked this and I said the person that ruined all of this was Bron. Because I felt like Bron's stance, and it's like Mike. If Mike would have made it okay for y'all to just be like, yeah, I'm leaving this team and I'm going to another. Cause I don't like what the owners are saying. If Mike would have did that, there would have been no loyalty because we all quote unquote wanted to be like Mike, right? And I felt like even though Steph was good, I felt like Bron was the guy that did it. Cause I feel like when Bron made it okay for people to team up, it stopped making the star player have to come back with something added to their game.
I think you're answering a different question. I agree with you, saying, but I'm talking about the style of play with everybody shooting.
That's what I'm saying.
So you heard what he had to say. That's not even the funny part. The funny part of the comments. Let me read what some of these people were saying in the comment section. It said, one person said, blame the Celtics before you use age as an excuse. They were in their 30s. At 35 plus, if Steph, Bron, and KD teamed up right now, y'all would call it a super team. Keep the same energy. LeBron never left the team out of frustration. He always fulfilled his contracts and left in free agency. Another person said, crazy how these role players talk about Bron like he's not the reason you got your championship ring. Another person said, if Bron stayed in Cleveland this whole time and only had one ring, would be saying that's a disappointment. Stop it. Y'all want him to be damn and be stuck on a bum-ass team until it's too late. So, another person says, Celtics made a big three. Bron responded with a big three. KD responded with his. They don't work anymore. Balance back in the world. And another person says, Celtics made the big three. Steph didn't ruin it. He made it so much more creative. Okay. So let's address this here. Celtics formed the big three. When they formed the big three, all of their players were in their mid-30s. That's the first thing. They were in their mid-30s. When the Celtics formed the big three, no one was saying that they had a top 2 or 3 player on their team in the NBA. Nobody. At that time, it was Kobe, and then people were saying LeBron was number 2. When LeBron formed the Miami Heat, let me give you guys some context. LeBron was joining a Finals MVP and a player in Dwayne Wade who the year before led the NBA in scoring. He also got a Chris Bosh, who was a 20-10 guy that was always taking his team, the Toronto Raptors, to the playoffs every single year. You then got a LeBron, who was arguably the second best player in the world on that team, who was like 26 years old. All of those guys were in their 20s. The Celtics were in their mid-30s. So it was like a last hurrah, whatever, for them to have an opportunity to win championships. Because at that time, Ray Allen didn't win a championship, Kevin Garnett didn't win a championship, and Paul Pierce didn't win a championship. So it was like the old guys coming together to give it one last shot. Number 3, when the Celtics formed that team, the NBA didn't hate them. When LeBron and them formed that team, the entire NBA community hated them. LeBron came out there and said they're going to win 7 championships because he knew he created a super team. None of the Celtics players were saying that. LeBron was. Okay? He was, because he thought they were going to win 7 championships. In that first season together, they won over 20. They went on a 20-plus win streak during that season. Going into the playoffs, they were the heavy favorite. The heavy favorite. And to show you how that situation with Miami was totally different, when they got to the finals, that playoffs, Dwayne Wade was the one that led the Miami Heat in scoring that playoffs. Did y'all know that? Did you know that? Dwayne Wade led the Miami Heat that year. He was his number 1 scorer in the playoffs. It wasn't LeBron James. It wasn't Chris Bosh. So LeBron was playing arguably with a player that was better than him in the playoffs that year. And they were already calling him the second or third best player in the world. So what are we talking about here? How is it the same? Those dudes were at the tail end of their prime. Those guys were in the heart of their prime. KD joined the Warriors in the heart of their prime. The exact same thing. Happened a little bit differently, same result. That was the move why everybody hated LeBron. That's the reality. And LeBron himself said it, I'm going to wear the black hat this season.